you. Great. I'm so glad to hear that. It's like over the past, Mother Mary came to me several years ago and she said, Kaia, you need to allow the totality of you to come forward. There needs to be a lot more of your natural fire coming forward in this transmission. And she, said to me, because there's times coming, and she would show me visions of the times in which people are going to need to be prepared. Like, you need to get out there and activate as many leaders as possible. And the way that she had expressed this message was with such urgency. I was in Malibu running a conference in Malibu when she came to me, and 1 year later, that location was decimated by the energy-directed weapon fires that were descending all over California. And the gravity was not lost on me when Mother Mary, had said that to me. And it's interesting leading an international movement. It's like there's this line that I'm always walking of like wanting to be, provide this very peaceful embodiment like you hear in the audiobook and you get to experience on a lot of the curriculum teachings. And with that said, there has to be a balance at this time with the totality of my own personality. And honestly, this is going to allow us to kind of explore these different facets of the Ascended Masters as well, where, my experience of Mother Mary is not some like timid teenager in a manger scene. Like, Mother Mary is one of the most full-on firm teachers I have ever worked with. Like, she is always super gentle and full of her all loving, unconditional loving embrace. And with that said, it's just like, if Mother Mary has a if you are included in her ministry and she's got a mission for you, she is relentless. She will be mentoring you day and night until you really, really listen to what she's saying. Like, you have to send her away. Be like, Mother Mary, I don't want to do this with you. Why you would ever want to do that, I don't know why, but like, you would have to really draw the line, because that's how firm she is when she is calling us into action. And I'm really feeling her presence. I'm actually like standing diagonally from my Mother Mary altar right now, so I'm really feeling her presence coming in as a part of this day 3 of the 9 days of Magdalene, because Mother Mary was a Magdalene. It's like the order of Magdalena are souls that have incarnated as masters across space and time, to bring the greatest angelic light into the darkest of times for a species or a planet, and not just Earth, by the way. So we have to remember, Mother Mary was one of Mary Magdalene's prime mentors before Mary Magdalene stepped out on the public stage of her ministry with Jesus. So when you're mentoring with Mary Magdalene, she became the fully developed woman that she was in her ministry as a divine feminine Christed figure, because of this presence of Mother Mary watching over her day and night as she was preparing for her public ministry. I mean, Mother Mary saw Mary Magdalene's potential from the moment they met, and she knew that her spiritual daughter, Mary Magdalene, and her biological son, Jesus, was their paths were meant to intertwine. Their paths were meant to work together. And yet when she met Mary Magdalene, as revealed in the Sophia Code, Mary Magdalene hadn't met Jesus yet. She was under the tutelage of Mother Mary in the mystery school at Mount Carmel. And so as she, apprenticed, really, I don't know if apprentice is right, it's better to say mentor, as she mentored with Mother Mary, what she got to connect with in Mother Mary was that Mother Mary was this amazing high priestess, trained in Egypt, also trained across Mesopotamia, and even in the teachings of India and in Taoism. And it was just like, Mary Magdalene could relate to that. There was a lot of children and young initiates in the Mont Carmel Mystery School that were only receiving that knowledge secondhand through books or oral traditions, or the oral history or scrolls, rather. I don't think they had books at that time, the way that they were communicating their teachings. And so there's this there's this interesting connection where Mary Magdalene had been traveling the world with her father, and she got to experience these places firsthand, very much the way Mother Mary did because of her mother Anna. So they really got to bond in that space. And it was in that space that the two Marys, really became spiritual allies for the rest of their lives. And so that's a little bit about that really deep, powerful connection that I'm feeling coming in for today, day 3 of 9 Days of Magdalene. Before we get going, I'm just going to say hello to a few more people. I'm so happy that Nia's here. And and Nia's mentioning, someone's asking what's the pendant that I'm wearing. Okay, so this, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, is a new hand-carved pendant, double-sided. It's the the Mary Magdalene She of 1,000 Angels medallion, and it's got a little lightning bolt for a bell for the pendant. And this design was based on my very powerful experiences in the Church of Magdalene in Paris, France. There is an altar, which I use. That's the picture I use for my Facebook and Instagram posts. There's an altar up at the front of the church where Mary Magdalene is standing very much like a Christ figure, mind you, with her arms open, standing above the angels, very much how Jesus would be depicted at the very front of a church. It's an incredible experience to walk into a cathedral of this size and see the divine feminine honored completely, right at the head of the church, right where all of the masses are given. And she's surrounded by these 4 incredible angels. And when I walked into that church, I just remember, I just remember thinking, thank God I listened to what Mary Magdalene said and what Mother Mary said. When Mary Magdalene said, I am she of 1,000 angels, and Mother Mary said, I am she of 1,000 roses. And I thought at the time, well, everybody's going to wonder why it's not the opposite, because, for centuries, Mother Mary has been called, the Queen of the Angels. And so often the iconography associated with Mary Magdalene is roses. But but really think about this, like, Mother Mary's teachings and her approach to the community work that she was doing was very much the teachings of the rose and the embodiment of the rose. And Mary Magdalene's work with Jesus was out in the fields, exercising people through these very powerful angelic powers that they were embodying, calling down the miracles of God through their perfect faith, as well as their perfect mystery school training for how to heal the collective mind and wounded heart of humanity. So it's interesting that to come full circle when I was studying that church in Paris. And so I was so deeply moved by it. I created this medallion, and on the back, there's this beautiful key to represent her key code, and these 2 MMs that are carved in with the key, and some lightning bolts there. And there's these like double dragon designs carved into the key. And so you can pre-order this beautiful and stunning hand-carved pendant on my website. We're doing a pre-launch pre-order, and the Magdalene discount that we have for her entire collection during the 9 Days of Magdalene does apply to the pre-order for She of 1,000 Angels medallion. So the other things that I just wanted to announce before we get going, we've been receiving a lot of questions about what's happening this year in 2020 with you, Kaia, and the Mystery School. So, wow, we had to really drop in deep in prayer and meditation around Sedona, and we finally landed on our dates that we feel really confident about. Our Sedona conference, our leadership conference, and that's going to start July 31st, Friday evening, and it's going to go Saturday and Sunday, August 1st and August 2nd. And then we will be hosting a VIP immersive for those leaders who have participated in our Mystery School curriculums. You can apply to be a part of that. It's a very, very intimate setting, and it's my most powerful offering where I go very, very deep in front of a small group of people, mentoring you in your leadership and helping you hone your message as well as your confidence in your message and your next steps of your purpose or whatever you're building as a company. It's like dancing with lightning. That's how fierce the environment is, and of course, it's super loving, of course, but there's no holding back. It's like dancing with dragons in that space. So attending the Sedona conference live is required to even apply to the VIP immersive. So you have to have been enrolled in our mystery school and have completed at least one curriculum and also attend Sedona live. We do have a limited amount of seats for Sedona due to the global crisis. We want to play it real safe. So there's 50 seats that we feel confident that we can maintain no matter what the situation is out there. And there'll be more details announced as far as what we've got cooked up for Sedona. And we are still keeping the temple gates open for the 2020 Vision Mentor Journey. We've been having exceptional live calls, ceremonies, empowerments, transmissions, and these live calls are complimentary inspiration and encouragement and insight to the Stargate 1 and Stargate 2 curriculum. If you feel inspired to become a Sophia Circle leader and start sharing the Sophia Code with the world through a paid ministerial offering, that Sophia Circle training will be so complemented with your coursework in the Stargate 1 and Stargate 2 curriculum, as well as these live calls. So please feel free to reach out to our team angels if you'd like to learn more about how you can join the mystery school. And that mystery school training is going to get you so prepared to be that much more of an empowered, educated facilitator of the Sophia Circle journeys that you can be hosting once you are certified. Each of these curriculums are they are incredible body of work that I channeled over 3 successive years. All of these teachings come directly from the Ascended Masters. With the exception of Stargate 2, there are modules from my next book that are written from the perspective of my human experience and higher self in communion with the Ascended Masters. And that material is called The Elegant Equation of Divine Feminine Christ Leadership. Really potent, very triggering teachings that will trigger you right out of your complacency or fear about leading and get you motivated to really step into the fire and the radiant light of your own sovereign divinity that really wants to be seen in this lifetime. In some way, it doesn't have to look like what I'm doing here. It just means that you're being willing, you're accepting that it's time to be seen as a resource of support for others in whatever capacity that means for you. So that Stargate 2 curriculum is sacred fire. And we actually, in the very first class, we go deep into what happened with the early Christian church, why we're taking back the word Christ for our divine feminine Christ revolution, why we talk so much about Sophia Christ consciousness. There's a whole dissertation, a class, and a module on it, and why that is such a powerful reconciliation with this word and what it can do for us at this time. So that's a little bit about, and then for those of you who are wondering, when does the Sophia Circle journey start live? This August 2020, right after, well, not right after, but shortly after the Sedona conference. So there's lots of things that you can get involved in, and we're really thrilled that we get to be of this much service this year. Important to note is that you can run Sophia Circles online virtually, and we have found that our recent Sophia Circle graduates who have crossed that finish line of certification are successfully running these circles online, and they're receiving such positive reflections and feedback. If